Man, now I'm going to tell you, I was really put in the blender in this one with pocket queens, and we're going to get to that hand a little bit later on, but we got some other good stuff to go over here. Some interesting spots, plus I hit quads at one point in this, which was kind of, something you got to see, all right? Anyways, here's what I want you guys to do. Go grab a Gatorade, bottled water, coffee, because this is going to go for about 20 minutes. And like I said, we just got some good spots to go over. But you're going to want to stick around till the end, of course, for the pocket queen situation. I'm also going to say this one time. If you're not in our community yet, man, I don't know why you're not in it. That's going to be in the pinned comment. A lot of good stuff in there. You can talk with me, especially if you're trying to take your game more seriously. There's going to be some other high-level members in there. And enough said, right? Also, any questions, comments, things like that, feel free to message me and I'll get back to you. But, I've basically been playing now for a couple decades. I'm very like the way I play. It's like 3 or 4 times a week, and kind of just had that schedule for a long time, right? But here's pocket sixes. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe this was maybe like one regret of this entire thing was this hand right here. But then again, I don't know. I don't know if it would have really mattered. But yeah, this was just a flop where you're like, for real? Like, did this really just happen? But, it did. It did happen. So we're going to raise here on the button, 1250 piece. I think player 5 is going to call us down here. Maybe player 4 did too. Can't really remember, but whatever. All right, player 4 is actually doing pretty good too. If we look at, I like to look at the table. And yeah, player 4 definitely doing his thing in this one. He's having a good day for sure. But yeah, so kicked it up here to the 1250 piece, and let's see what happened. I think player 5 made this call, but like I said, I could be wrong here. And player 4 taking forever to make a decision here. It's like, dude, come on, man. Come on, man. Make up your mind. When people do this, it's very frustrating, but it's just kind of a part of playing. Now, he did kick it up to the 50 piece. We're obviously going to indulge him here and call this, and hopefully we see a 6. And we did, okay? We also saw 2 jacks out there. Not really sure what this guy's got at this point. He could have a lot of, ace, king, ace, queen, also some mid-pocket pairs, 10s, 9s, things like that. Very, very plausible. Maybe some ace 10 suiteds in there. Ace jack suiteds would be pretty nice for us in this spot. Anyways, he continued here with a 50 piece. I just called him. Turn card was a queen. Not really sure if that, I'm not sure what that card does for us. And honestly, like at this point, I don't really know where we're at. He's going to continue here with another 50 piece. I just felt like I have no idea what this guy's got. I just came over the top here for $3.99, Now, he folded right away. Here's the thing. Like, if I would have just called him there, I think that, you could see we would have hit quads. I don't think it was going to change anything. I think he was probably going to check the river. And if we put anything out there, I think he was probably just going to fold it. So, even though I came over the top, I kind of think it was going to play out the same way, if that makes sense. So, whatever. But yeah, we hit quads pretty early on here, which is kind of cool to see, right? It doesn't happen too often, but it did right there. I'd say for the most part, too, you're going to kind of notice in this one, I basically kind of just played tight aggressive. I didn't really get too out of line. Whenever I play, I say this all the time, like, I really just adjust to the table, and I think you should do the same. I'm trying to exploit opponents using any type of strategy, whether it's like GTO or having like an ABC approach. When you exploit opponents, and you pick up on what they're doing, you can definitely make some moves, you know what I mean? And I think it opens your game up too. So you should be bluffing quite a bit when you're playing, especially as you're moving up in stakes. If you're playing like the really low games, it's not really, I guess you could still get away with playing pretty basic, but you have to open things up a little bit more, and there's more nuance to it. Another reason you guys should get in that community, because I'll tell you what, there is nuance to this. It's not like, there's not like one strategy or style that's going to get you there, if that makes sense. All right, anyways, pocket 3's in the big here. Let's see if we can hit a 3. I'm definitely thinking it probably not, because we just got the quads, so, but it didn't even matter. He folded it. Player 2 folded it, and, we move on here. All right, Queen 10 offsuit, very playable in the small here. I, I'm not sure if player 2 raised this. He might have. Doesn't really matter. We're obviously going to make a call here with Queen 10 off. If I say Queen 10 suited, I apologize. I meant Queen 10 off. All right, so not a bad flop. I mean, we've got up and down straight draw, ace, 9. We're also blocking the club draw. We got the 10 of clubs. So this is actually not a bad flop at all. If he continues here, which I'm expecting him to, I could raise, which is very reasonable. I could also just call. I think either one's fine. I don't think it's going to make that big of a difference. But he checked it, so we got there on the turn. Him having a queen as well. I mean, there's 3 queens left, so it's possible. But slow playing it. River card was a queen, and talk about the ugliest run out of all time right here. So our straight basically done for, and he had queen 10 too, which was kind of funny. So whatever. It was kind of weird that he had queen 10. Let's be fair. But anyways, all right. Ace 10 offsuit. Kind of noticed too, like we're seeing a very tight approach from everybody so far in this one. All right, I just flatted this, and we're going to take a flop. So I was kind of in a pickle here. We do have the ace of hearts, and I mean, it's all hearts out there, which is really nice, right? Do we raise if he continues? What do we do, right? You got to think about it a little bit. Now he opened up from slightly early position here. So I am kind of thinking like, okay, do you have, like a hand of king, queen of hearts, something like that. He went really small with the sizing here is his continuation. I just called. Turn card was a 3. So the hearts didn't get there. If he continues here, I think we have to call and see a river card. Honestly, I think we gotta keep him honest, right? And he went with the 25 piece, and I was kind of like, this is a decision you got to make. Like, do we call, fold, raise? What do we do? I actually ended up letting it go, and let's see if we would have got there. Nope. All right, so hard to know if that was a good fold or not. If he had something like I don't know, like a jack queen with the heart, we might have taken that one down, but whatever. All right, anyways, we progress here a few hands later, kind of cut through some of the noise. 7-10 suited. I think I said this the other day. 8-10 suited, 7-10 suited. Couple of my favorite hands to play. And I really wanted to see a flop with this. Player 5 is going to open here to the 1250 piece. It's going to come to over to player 6. Pick up sticks. He's going to call over to player 1. And I am, getting ready to see a flop here. Until this happened, player 1 kicked it up to the 60 piece, and now I'm kind of like, ugh. I really wanted to see a flop with this, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense, and you have to look at it too. If I made that call, I was worried because player 5 opened that maybe he had something big, and then he comes over the top, so I had to fold it. Really didn't want to. Player 6 made the call, and we got the good news. Obviously, it was a very bad flop. So, yeah, definitely happy to see the flop miss with my 7-10 suited. Which is clearly a monster. Clearly, right? Anyways, I think player 1's going to continue here. I would continue on this flop if I had ace king, ace queen, whatever. I mean, it's such a bad board. Player 6 could really have anything, some mid pocket pairs, maybe suited connectors, you know what I mean? Hard to know. But I think player 1's going to get it done here. Let me see. Pretty sure he does. All right, never mind. Ace on the turn, player 1. I would think that hit him right here. I think if player 1 was kind of just going for it on that flop, which is very reasonable, he probably got there on the turn. Player 6 is probably in a rough spot now. That's what I think. Let me see if I'm right about it or not, just based on how this one's playing out. I am leaning that way. All right, player one went for a pretty big sizing here. I think player six has probably got to let this go. If he's on a heart draw, if he's got maybe like a mid pocket pair, it's probably no bueno with that ace on the turn, which is what I'm thinking. And oof, ace on the river with the heart. All right. Anyways, all right. So a little kind of making our way a little bit here, going down a little bit. Had a pretty good start, and then we get this ace jack offsuit. Hope you guys are still with me because, like I said, you definitely want to stick around for the pocket queen situation coming up. Not too long from now. But ace jack offsuit. Button's gonna raise it. I'm just gonna call. Back over to player five. All right, so we got the ace, which is nice. I'm just going to check this. I'm just going to play a little defense on this. Since I didn't re-raise it, I'll let player two continue here. Player two could have anything. He could have ace 10, some weak aces, maybe some king queens, mid-pocket pairs, that kind of stuff. So I would expect him to continue here, and he did. He went very small, probably just trying to feel me out. Turn card was a deuce. Don't really have to worry about that. I'm feeling pretty good about our hand at this point too, especially with this board. He is going to continue here, which kind of threw me off a little bit. I would have expected him just to check this back. You know what I mean? I don't think he's worried I have a deuce, but I don't know what he's going for right now. He's going to take his time to think about this, and clearly we're not going anywhere. I'd like to see an ace on the river, that would be nice. I would take another deuce or maybe even a jack, honestly, though, like, whatever. But you could see he really, when somebody's like letting it run down this long and they're thinking this long, typically, they have something decent, you know what I mean? So usually, unless he's taking a bathroom break, I don't know what's going on here, but kind of annoying. It's like make up your mind, right? All right, he went with a 34 piece. Obviously, I'm calling here, and let's see that river, which was a jack. Now, a couple things to worry about here. King 10 bluffing got there, but I think that there's just no way for us to get away from this, I kind of was hoping we could just go to showdown at this point. I have no idea what this guy has. But if he does put something out there, I think that we just have to call. We can't really go anywhere here. He could be bluffing. It's possible. I was actually leaning towards him having it more than bluffing, but I just couldn't get away. And I think sometimes you find yourself in these spots where, you just can't get away. So he's going to put out a nice sizing here, more than the pot. And I don't really think I had to think about this too long. I made the call. Let's see what he had. Jack 10. So fortunately, he didn't have king 10. I was worried about it. He did have one of the 10s, so, and I think that's what he was going for, too. He kind of figured he was blocking king 10, so maybe he could get us off that. It wasn't a bad play. It was just unfortunate for him that we hit two pair with ace jack, which made it really hard for me to get away from, especially for his sizing. So, we called him down, and it is what it is. All right, so once again here, just playing pretty snug. Ace queen offsuit, player 5, who's been very tight up to this point, and I have noticed that. Kicks it up to the 70 piece. I am going to show him some respect. I've just noticed, you notice after a while too, like, people are playing pretty tight. We're just gonna give it to him because it just feels like, okay, like, you're not playing a lot of hands. You probably got it. We'll give you a little respect here, and we'll just let this go. And I did. And we would have been in a tricky spot here. Ace queen, king to the nut straight. We don't have any hearts, so we weren't blocking the hearts. But yeah, let's see what happened here. Not regretting the fold just yet, but we would have been in a tough spot. And like I said, player 5 just been playing so snug, so just giving him some credit for it. All right. Anyways, what's he gonna do? Letting that clock run down. Very annoying. Very annoying. All right, he went for a 46 piece chicken nug. Pretty small, considering. I think hard to really know what he's got. to be fair. You could have a lot of ace kings, you know, and he's just continuing here. And maybe some over pairs or whatever. Player 2 called. Turn card was a 10. It would be sneaky if a player 2 had a 10 here, you know. I don't know, though. I honestly have no idea what either of these guys has. I got to be putting player 5 on either like ace king or an over pair. And I would probably still continue here if I had an overpair, even with, you know, the 10 hitting on the turn. I think that I'm probably going to continue here. You know, if we have queens, kings, aces. Player 5 does continue. He goes to the 93 piece. And player 2's got a decision to make here. Does he continue? Or does he get rid of it? You know, I think player 5 isn't going to get away from this if player 2 comes over the top. If he doesn't have a 10 and he's just trying to act like he does, maybe. I think player 5's definitely going to make a call here. But let's see what player 2 did. He folded. I think that was a really good fold, and I'm very glad after seeing that river that I let that ace-queen offsuit go. So whatever. Okay, so we are getting very close here to the pocket queen situation. Hope you guys have stuck with me. I think we've seen some interesting spots so far, and I hope you grabbed a coffee, Gatorade, or bottle of water while you've been watching this. Also hope you've got in our community, you know, in that pinned comment. Okay, queen 6 suited. Pretty easy fold from early position here. Okay, and we progress. Okay, we progress. All right, so we went down a little bit, kind of cutting through some of the noise. 6-10 suited. Isn't 7-10 suited, I'll say that. Okay, 6-10 doesn't exactly play as well as that 7-10 suited, which we didn't get to see a flop with earlier, but will we see one here? That is the question, okay? All right, so we are in the small blind. I am going to do a little limper here. And we got none of this. Pretty easy check fold. You know, yeah, very easy check fold. Back over to player 4, who's actually doing a little bit better, actually. Went up a little bit. Ace on the turn, and okay. All right, jack, queen, offsuit. All right, we're going to kick it up here to the 1250 piece. Player 2 did limp here. When you see somebody limp from early position, typically it's suited connectors, kind of low ones, and those like low pocket pairs, just trying to get in there. You see it all the time. All right, player 4 is going to kick it up to the 50 piece, and I don't know. I was kind of 50-50 on this. Do we want to continue here? I just folded it. I think it was the right fold. Even though I wanted to make a call, we would have had absolutely nothing. We would have been playing against player 4, who has been playing pretty good. He went with the continuation. We would have had a miracle draw there on the river, but whatever. All right, here we go with ace queen again. Right, again. Will it work this time? That is the question. All right, none of this flop. I checked it over. Deuce on the turn. This guy is going to put in a 30 piece. I just gave it to him, you know. Kind of made me glad that I checked that flop, even though I would continue most of the time. Okay, 9-8 offsuit, easy fold, and I think the next one is going to be the pocket queens. Pretty sure. All right, player 1. Ooh, look at that. Player 2 over the top. He must have had it. All right, here we go. Yeah, this is it. Okay, so kind of the spot we've been waiting for. Queens, we were in the big here. And, yeah, we were kind of just put in a tricky spot here with queens. No other way to say it. All right, yeah, so I want to say player 2 raised this one up. Slowed it down. Just like to give you guys my thought process on these spots. You know, you'll also see a lot of the time when you have queens, like in these mid games, that you get it in a lot of the time against like ace king. You know what I mean? It happens quite a bit. It's weird, you know. But yeah, getting away from queens, especially like pre-flop, it's hard to do. You know what I mean? It just is. It's queens. You could still be losing to aces and kings a lot of the time, but still, like, it's just hard to get away from. All right, so back over to us. You know, what else could we do here? Kicked it up to the 43 piece, kind of keeping it friendly, you know. I'm okay with both these guys making the call, but I want to build now as opposed to just like, you know, basically limping into this. I can't really do that. I would do the same here with probably jacks, probably tens too. All right, so both players made the call and a couple jacks out there. You don't like to see it. Okay, you don't like to see it. Uh, I actually ended up just checking this over. Now, if somebody puts something out here, I'm still going to call to see the turn. I'm not going anywhere, okay? But, yeah, you don't really like it too much here with two jacks out there. You got jack 10 suiteds that might have made this call. Some jack queen suiteds, a little bit less likely because we have queens. But we got to check to the turn, which is a 9. So here we are, pocket queens. We now have a club draw to go with some weird straight draws that might try to take this down. Player 2, look at this. The 125 sizing, I had to flat this. I couldn't get away. Plus, here's a little tip. When somebody puts something out there that quick, they usually don't have it. But we got to the river, which was a brick, okay? The pot's pretty big, and we're in a spot where if he comes over the top here, how do we get away? He didn't, though. He went with the 156 sizing. I called. He had king 9 offsuit, and we took it down, guys. Anyways, that was the spot. You know, if you got anything from that last one, though, when somebody kind of goes real quick, they usually don't have it. When somebody uses that time bank, they usually have it because they're trying to figure out how much they can get off of you. So if you didn't know that, now you do. All right, anyways, hope you enjoyed this. You know, get in that community, pin comment, subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you in the next one.